The Vedic literature is a complete library for understanding life, the purpose of the creation, how the cosmos manifested, and what is the spiritual identity of the individual soul, supersoul, and supreme being, plus the relationship between them and the pathways for directly realizing and perceiving these. According to Vedic tradition, when the Supreme Lord created this material world, His transcendental energy pervaded every corner of it. This spiritual energy was the pure vibration, Shabda Brahma, in which the Supreme Himself can be found. It is explained that through the worship of this subtle form of the Vedas, mystics can cleanse their hearts of all faults and impurities caused by the association of various material substances and actions. From this spiritual sound vibration, the great sage Vyasa Dev compiled the Vedic literature.
The Vedic literature consists of the four parts. The first part is the Samhita. Samhita means literally the compendium. There are four Samhitas: the Rigveda Samhita, the Yajurveda Samhita, the Samaveda Samhita, and the Atharvaveda Samhita. After the Samhitas come the Brahmanas, the texts which explain the rituals, the Karma Kanda. The Brahmanas are followed by the Upanishads. Their number varies. They deal with the more philosophical of the subjects. The Upanishad, the word means to sit nearby. Upa means nearby, Samipe. Ni is closely, Sat is sit. Sat and sit, as you will see, they are the cognate forms going back to the Indo-European period. So, Upanishad means to sit nearby. It is not specified nearby whom, it is understood. The tradition explains it by itself. Those who are well versed in it, it means to sit nearby the teacher, the preceptor, who would instruct, the seeker of knowledge to the higher truth.
It's generally accepted that the oldest strata of what we might call Hindu or Vedic Sanskrit literature is what is known as the Vedas and the Veda Samhitas and the Veda Brahmanas and the Vedic Upanishads and the Aranyakas. The Veda Samhitas, like the Rig Veda and so forth, these are written in a special form of Sanskrit called Vedic Sanskrit. They contain a lot of philosophical information, theological information, talks a lot about ritual, the practice of something called the yajna, a sacrifice. The final chapters of these Vedic Samhitas are called the Upanishads or the Aranyakas, and these are more, philosophical, mystical in orientation, talking about something called Brahman and the Atman, and describing natural processes, the Vedic sacrifices, and with the aim of illuminating the nature of this thing called the Brahman and Atman. And from there, after that period, there's just this massive proliferation of literature. The Upanishads get synthesized into a text called the Vedanta-Sutra. Around the same time, there's a variety of other sutra literatures, like the Yoga Sutra, the Nyaya Sutra, the Vaisheshika Sutra, and so on and so forth. Commentaries on these texts develop. The Puranas are coming into being, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita being part of the Mahabharata. And then from that time on, more Upanishads are written, more Puranas are written, and a whole other group of texts called the Tantras or the Samhitas, the Agamas are written, and these are also just massive, proliferate tremendously. But to a limited extent, at least the way the literature is framed, it's all in some sense trying to look back on these ancient Vedic Samhitas and Upanishads. In fact, the literature develops and deviates and changes and transforms these Vedas, but nevertheless, many of the texts claim to be looking back to them.
The main purpose of the Vedic literature is to establish knowledge of the absolute truth and the process for attaining the highest levels of self-realization. To do that, it must, and does, contain the elementary as well as most advanced forms of spiritual knowledge. This is what is called Sanatana Dharma, the eternal duty of life and the eternal state of being, meaning complete harmony and balance that we should all reach. This is the main purpose of the human form of life according to the Vedic system.